Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So I'm sure you guys have all heard by now that Donald Trump caved. Yeah, he went and sucked his thumb in the corner. There was another insane roller coaster day of trading on the stock market yesterday. I'm sure you all know about that. On Wednesday, early morning, early in the morning, there were already reports that everything had been down. Even 10-year bonds and gold were down. Like people were selling gold, selling their US Treasury bonds. It was really bad. That really, the whole bond thing, it seems, is what had everybody really freaked out. Normally people move their money to bonds. When investors pull out of stocks, they usually put it in bonds because that's safer. So it really signaled this is massively unstable. Like the American economy is unstable, not unstable, unstable. Investors, basically were predicting a complete collapse of the US economy. And Japan mostly was selling off a lot of US bonds, which became very concerning. And so the market started to rise, though, a little bit, like early morning, mid morning, because Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced, "Well, I'm going to lead the charge on negotiating the tariffs," which to me is like so embarrassing for Trump that the market reacted positively because it's like saying, "Yeah, I didn't really trust Mr. Art of the Deal to make to put these negotiations together." So we're glad we got an adult handling this. And then all of a sudden, China announced, "Oh, we're slapping 84% tariffs on US imports." And so then the market dropped again. So then mid afternoon, Trump announced, "We're going to pause tariffs for 90 days." Most countries, almost all countries. However, there are still some in place, which I'm going to explain. So then, of course, the stock shot through the roof. And as of midday today, it had already again lost about half of the gains from yesterday. So as of midday today, on Thursday, the Dow was down another 1,700 points. So not, I shouldn't say an additional 17 points, but it had gained, it shot up really high and then dropped again another 1,700. And, Trump is trying to say today, "Oh, biggest one day gain. Look at that under my presidency. Look at how much the market went up in one day." And I'm like, I posted this on Twitter. It's like the arson who wants to be patted on the back and praised because he went and got the fire extinguisher or the hose. I mean, seriously, guy. And then he's claiming that over 75 countries have contacted the US and they want to negotiate. And, oh, well, that's why I'm pulling these tariffs because, they want to negotiate. And then he also, at another point, said, well, people were getting yippy. They just were, getting scared and blah, blah, blah. I don't buy that it was because people have been contacting the US and want to negotiate. I mean, first of all, the EU had already announced before he did this, the EU announced that they were going to be imposing tariffs of 25%. They were specifically targeting red states, by the way. This was right before Donald Trump caved. The EU said that they were going to impose 25% on cigarettes from Florida, on beef from Kansas and Nebraska, on chicken from Louisiana, on car parts from Michigan, and soybeans. So the US is the second largest exporter of soybeans. And according to the New Republic news outlet, over 82% of soybean exports specifically to the EU come from Louisiana. That is where Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson lives. So might have had something to do with it. But again, this is why I don't believe it because he's full of shit. I mean, first of all, you know, you don't fold Or, I mean, or I already said, first of all, it was the European Union issue. But then, second of all, you don't fold when you have the best hand at the table, right? You don't fold when you have a straight flush. I mean, it's inconceivable. um, so yeah, he's so full of it. And then the other thing is the White House is refusing to provide a list of these so-called countries who are begging, coming crying, sir, we want a deal. I mean, for another thing, not first of all, because I've already said that multiple times. The other thing is anytime he says the word sir, and is trying to tell us that someone came to him, tears in her eyes, on their knees, sir, he's full of shit. That is a complete tell. So, yeah, he's full of it. In any case, he announced he was increasing the China tariff to 125% effective immediately. That is going to kill some small businesses. And then today, he clarified, oh no, it's actually 145%. So it's 125% duty on all goods. And then he added an additional 20% for his supposed fentanyl crisis, which is the excuse that Trump is using to steal the tariff power away from Congress. That's how he has gained this power to unilaterally impose these tariffs, because this power typically stands with Congress. It is within their rights, their duties, their responsibilities to impose tariffs or remove them. He has taken that away from them because he used the excuse that we are under attack, just like with the deportation thing. Oh, it's a national emergency, that we have this fentanyl crisis. And so I have to wrest the power away from Congress, and I get to by myself unilaterally decide what and who is going to happen with these tariffs. So here's where the tariffs stand at this point. As I mentioned, 145% on Chinese imports, 25% on aluminum and auto imports, also any goods from Canada and Mexico that are not already covered under the previous agreement that we had with them, which was also done by Donald Trump. That was under the USMC, the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. And then an additional, or not an additional, but a 10% tariff on all other imports from all other countries, with the exception of China. That is my understanding. So this will destroy some small countries. There are some countries, as you guys may have heard, like Lesotho, which is so tiny, has literally like nothing. They have so few people there that they can't import very much from our country. And the only thing they really export are textiles or, clothing. They manufacture clothing. And so this is going to kill them. It's not like they can increase their exports from the US. They don't have anybody to use these products, and it's a poor country. They're not buying our expensive products. They're not buying our expensive services, which I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, this latest flip flop, this is why we will never rebuild manufacturing. We will never rebuild a huge domestic supply chain, because he is too inconsistent. Businesses cannot bank on Donald Trump and his decisions. No business is going to be willing to invest a huge amount of money, time, resources, everything that they would need to do to build up factories and manufacturing and so forth. He just flips on a dime. He just, changes his mind. Oh, I decide I'm going to do something else. And how does negotiating with other countries bring manufacturing back to our country? This is something I've brought up before. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. It's, well, we need to bring manufacturing back. We need to bring jobs back. Okay, well, then why are you negotiating with people? What does that do? If that is your end goal, if that is truly your end goal, then there is no negotiating. You want to bring those jobs back to the US. So he doesn't make any sense. And these companies, they're probably looking at this shit show and they're thinking like, no way Republicans are going to hold the House in the midterms. So is Donald Trump going to be impeached? Would the Senate at that point be? I don't think the Democrats are going to win the Senate, as I've mentioned, just because of the seats that are up in the next elections. But Republicans in the Senate are a lot more reasonable than they are in the House. And they may look at this and go, I don't want 2 more years of this. He's destroying us. He's destroying our party. So is Trump going to be impeached and removed after the midterms? If Democrats take control of the House? And then JD Vance is now being painted with this. He has not broken with Donald Trump on this at all. He is aligned with him. He is endorsing this lunacy. So this is destroying his chances of winning in 2020. So the chances of Donald Trump's agenda and policies being carried on by someone like JD Vance is not likely if this chaotic lunacy continues. And think about all the companies, especially these small businesses that probably spent this last week since he announced this stuff just scrambling, going nuts, trying to make alternate arrangements, trying to source supplies and products for their companies. And then for what? For him to change his mind. They may have already spent money changing websites. Restaurants have to change menus. You have to change pricing lists. I mean, clothing stores have to change price tags. Construction companies, if they've given out quotes, they may have already lost jobs because they were factoring in increased costs. I mean, there's still some tariffs, so there are still going to be increased costs. It's just not going to be as much. And we already know companies have laid people off because of this stuff. So and now everybody's in limbo for 90 days. They're like, will he? Won't he? He's put him on, taken him off multiple times. I mean, do consumers trust this? Are they going to go out and make large purchases and finance things? This is no way to govern anything. I mean, you can't run a donut shop this way, let alone a worldwide superpower that affects literally everything and every corner of the world. And as many analysts have pointed out, the US trade deficit is pretty much BS. I mean, it is a really ignorant way to gauge fair trade because the US doesn't sell a lot of goods to other countries, but we sell a lot of services. We are a service provider. So I thought this was really interesting. The Wall Street Journal had a great article about this very topic today. So check out this chart that they show on the front page. We export over $1 trillion a year in services. They are not factoring that into the trade deficit to see if we, in fact, are on a level playing field. So this is BS. And then other countries could retaliate. They could say, okay, you know what? We're going to go source these services elsewhere. We're going to cancel these contracts with you for these services. That is much easier to do than replacing a supply chain of physical goods. So we have a moron running the country. As people have been spreading the meme, morons are governing America. That is what MAGA is. So anyway, and then I know this is petty, but this has to be discussed. This has to be, we have to get to the bottom of this, figure out what's going on. On a personal note, has anyone noticed Donald Trump's change of appearance? Has anyone noticed that they changed his bronzer color and that his hair is no longer yellow? It's, instead of orange, he looks like someone rubbed dirt on his face, like shit stained brown. And then his hair is completely white, like not gray, white, white. I was talking with someone and we are trying to figure out what he looks like. And they suggested that he looks like a cappuccino because his hair is all big and pompadour on top of his head. So it's like the froth. So yeah, he's a walking sociopathic cappuccino. There you go. Enjoy. Have fun with that. Spread at will. All right, guys, I will let you know when I hear more because we're going to hear more about the tariffs. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. If you can donate, truly appreciate it. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.